3 years ago, I did not think I would ever buy a robotic litter box. I had always scooped by hand, it was part of my routine, and it never really felt like a chore I needed to solve. That changed quickly when I stopped working from home. With 4 cats in the apartment, the box would fill quickly while I was away for long hours. And by the time I got home from a long commute, the litter box was always full, of course, and the smell was impossible to ignore, even with morning scooping. And that is why I finally tried a self-cleaning robotic litter box. I bought it with my own money, of course, and I had no idea if it would actually help or how long it would last. At that time, a self-cleaning litter box was still a niche product, and while there were reviews, not many people had long-term experience with it. Now that I've used it daily for about 3 years, here's what life has really been like with 4 cats using one robotic self-cleaning litter box. There is, however, an important caveat for owners that want to bring in a self-cleaning litter box for their multi-cat homes. A robotic litter box can reduce the number of litter boxes needed, but only in the right situation. This will not work if your cats do not get along or if they show territorial behavior around the litter box. In those cases, having only one box will cause more stress. My cats are bonded, they're comfortable sharing resources, which is why this setup works for us. Anyone who has tension between their cats should still have multiple litter boxes. So for those that are curious of how it works, the specific model that I use is linked in the description of this video, and I chose it because it was simple, relatively speaking. There's no application to install or Wi-Fi to connect to. It was pour the litter in, plug and play for the most part. Funny, as I get older, I want things to be less smart. And also save my life when I'm tired from a 1.5 hour commute, where in the past even just looking at the litter box made me weary. So let's get to my actual experience in these past 3 years with the self-cleaning litter box. Well, the things that worked is first, one box for 4 cats is actually possible. There's a common rule for traditional litter boxes, 1 litter box per cat plus 1 extra. If you follow that rule, for me, that would be 5 boxes. And can you imagine having 4 to 5 litter boxes in this apartment or my previous apartment? That would be about 25 to 40% of my apartment just covered in litter boxes and sand. Basically like a desert, but just with a lot more poop. Even when I was using a traditional litter box, I only used 2 for my 4 cats. Luckily, however, because the box cleans itself several times a day, the cats never walk into something that is dirty. For my home, this means that I can maintain one main litter box without any problem. This would not have been possible probably with a traditional box. Again, cats tend to avoid dirty boxes because they are sensitive to scent and territory. When a box is cleaned often, the scent stays neutral and the space feels more safe. A robotic litter box can reduce the number of boxes you need simply because it cleans multiple times throughout the day. And once again, if your cats get along and they have a good relationship with each other, they will take turns to use the litter box. Second, this is something that maybe you'll notice almost immediately, is that the apartment will smell better for longer. The litter box is of course the strongest scent marker in the home, and a box that stays clean also stays neutral smelling, which overall reduces stress for your nose and for your cats. And let's not forget, this is real time saved every day. Before using this, I scooped probably twice a day. It takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes in total. And if you math that out, that's almost 70 minutes a week, more than 60 hours a year. And over 3 years, I have saved probably more than 180 hours. But it's never really about the hours that you care about. It's more about the mental space that gets freed up with one less daily task required. It's also really easy to maintain. Once a week, I empty out all the litter, wipe the inside with an antibacterial wipe, and refill it with fresh new litter. that is it. Even robotic litter boxes can collect dust and residue, so this step is always needed. Additionally, the waste drawer capacity is very practical. For one cat, for this specific litter box, the waste drawer can last around 2 weeks. For 4 cats, it can last around 3 to 4 days for me before I have to bag it up and throw it out and put in a new bag. This means that I can also take short trips without worrying about the waste drawer overflow. So now getting to the things that I didn't like. Well, first is the price. $300 feels like a lot for a litter box. Even now it still feels strange to say that out loud. But after all this time and still working and still chugging along, I'd say it's not too bad. The second thing that I don't like is that it has limited litter options to work with it. Self-cleaning litter boxes work best with clumping clay litter. In the past, I have always preferred pine litter because it tracks and spreads around less. For robotic cleaners, I have no choice. Clay or sand litter tracks everywhere, so I have to use a litter mat and a litter trapping step ramp to help contain it, but at least it has the added bonus of just making the litter box more accessible. For me, this is the biggest compromise. If a company can make a self-cleaning litter box specifically for pine litter, I would be very interested in testing it out. One thing I haven't seen mentioned in reviews about self-cleaning litter boxes is the wearing out of that rubber lining. Almost all robotic litter boxes have some sort of flexible rubber lining, and with heavy use, i.e. having multiple cats, it will eventually get damaged and tear. For me, after a long period of use, the lining tore. Luckily, there is replaceable linings, and I did replace it once, which was a bit of a pain, but it had a small hole 12 months later. This time, instead of replacing the whole liner, I simply just patched it with a flexible canvas repair sticker. It works well and prevents the tear from spreading. Lastly, it's harder to monitor your cat's digestive health. This is something many cat owners probably don't think about at first. When a machine cleans everything automatically, you see the litter box less often. That can make it harder to notice changes in shape, color, or frequency. These details matter because they are often the earliest signs of health issues. You can work around this by checking the waste drawer when you empty it out, but it's probably not the same as seeing everything in real time. Therefore, if your cat has health or digestive issues that require you to be always on top of their bowel movements, a robotic litter box may not be for you. So was it worth it after 3 years? Yes, even with the drawbacks, I would probably buy it again. A robotic litter box may not be for everyone, but for the right household, it can make life easier and more comfortable for both humans and cats. With 4 cats, keeping the litter box clean has had a huge impact on their comfort and mine. The apartment smells better, the cats have a cleaner environment throughout the day, and removes one of the daily tasks that can feel heavier on busy days. It's been 3 years and counting, and it's still working to this day, despite my concerns about the longevity. So if you're curious, I have the exact link to my litter box within the description of the video, and I'll hope to see you next time. Thanks.